As the world has shifted digital, it's become further and further from the human. And I think people still crave that connection. And honestly, it's what we specialize in. I don't know how many times we've said relationships in this conversation, but that's what Park is built on, right? Is relationships.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, this is What Gives with Erin Satzger.
So today, the What Gives podcast is coming to you from the Rookwood Exchange at Park National Bank. And I'm really excited to sit down with three of my favorites from the Cincinnati area with Park National Bank. So I'm going to introduce you guys. Brian Fox. Brian, tell us what you do for Park National Bank.
I am the market president for us in Cincinnati.
And then I have Michelle Hamilton here with me. Michelle, what do you do for Park National Bank?
Hey, Erin. So I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Park, and part of my responsibilities include overseeing our digital banking program.
Nice. And then Todd Durham.
Hi, Erin. I am the head of the trust.
So I'm really excited to share with our listeners today just who Park National Bank is. We have a long-standing relationship as Northern Cincinnati Foundation with you guys. And I love the story kind of how Park National came to be. And I know, Brian, you are the expert in this area. Can you tell us kind of how you guys were started?
Sure. So Park was founded in Newark, Ohio in 1908 and really just grew organically in the Licking County area for 75 years. Then when banking regulations changed, we started acquiring strong independent community banks throughout the state of Ohio. So we started doing that in 1985. And then with the focus on leaving the local leadership, local management, local branding in place and essentially letting them run as independent banks just with larger bank support. So, and we really did that until about the early 2000s. And in 1999, Park started an LPO in Cincinnati, loan production office, just focusing on commercial lending. And then in the early 2000s, we purchased Anderson Bank and Claremont Savings Bank. And that's really how Park entered the Cincinnati market.
Very nice. You know, I honestly, I know you guys have been growing and, being more active in the region. And so I was actually surprised as we're chatting before the podcast, what your footprint is in Cincinnati. So Michelle, can you tell us about the locations here in Cincinnati for our businesses as well as individuals to connect with?
Sure. Yeah. So we have been growing, and here in Cincinnati, our office footprint includes obviously this location here in Rookwood, our most central location. We have a lot of commercial lenders, mortgage officers, wealth management folks who use this as kind of a springboard to go out and meet with people wherever they are. So this is a really nice hub for being able to go work with people anywhere in Cincinnati. And then we've got more traditional banking centers located in more on the east side as you go out. So Anderson Township, Eastgate, Amelia. And so that makes up sort of our branch footprint. But with the digital service that Park offers, there's things we can do for people all over Cincinnati.
Right. I think that's amazing. And Todd, you and I get to work together a lot. I see you the most, I think, out of the group at Park National.
I hope you think that's a good thing.
Yes,
I do.
yes,
Yeah.
I do. I think it's great. And if I could only get some golf tips from Todd here, because he's a great golfer. But Todd, tell us about kind of your relationship with Northern Cincinnati Foundation. So Park National Bank is actually a custodian of some of our charitable assets. We have this amazing working relationship with Park. Honestly, I can't say enough good about our relationship. Can you tell us about kind of some of the things you specialize in and just how we work together?
Right. I mean, essentially, I look at our role as we're money managers. We're investing on behalf of the group. And our role really is to provide some of the engine to your ship. We're trying to provide fuel for the good things that the foundation does. And that's all about managing the money in a proper way and being responsive to your staff, which is also superior staff.
Which you guys have done an amazing job with just donations and stock transfers and all of that it requires, and then donations going out. We have very active donors that are granting large dollars a lot of the time out to these organizations in the area. And it's always expeditious when we're working with you, which is awesome because that's what we want. We need these nonprofits to have the impact. Sometimes it's quickly, right? They have a need and we need to respond quickly. So kudos to you and your team on that. So I always like to mix it up and have fun and business on the What Gives podcast. So let's mix in some fun. So I want to know how you guys start your day. Like, what's your morning like, Brian? I think you should kick this one off as the market president.
Sure. I think the first thing I do when I start my day is look over to the side of the bed to see if one of my kids is sleeping next to me.
Yes. Are they scarily hovering or are they sleeping? You know.
Sometimes it's a tap, and sometimes it's just the shuffle of the feet, and then you can hear them lay down next to you.
Yeah. It's so sweet. I think
is.
That is a sweet way.
It is.
So wait. So tell our listeners, you just had your 4th, right?
Our 4th.
I mean, to be in the 4 club for children is an elite club, I would say.
Yep.
So what are their ages?
4, 3, 1, and 2 months.
Wow. Wow.
All
so
boys.
Your wife, like flowers every day? What are you doing? That's amazing.
Yeah, she's an angel. I have no idea how she puts up with all of us every day.
Yes. It's a lot.
It's a lot of boys.
Oh, it's all
They're all
boys
boys.
too.
All
Oh
boys.
my Lord. That's amazing.
Yep.
Very impressive. Okay, so yes, that's obviously a very apparent part of your morning. Then what do you do next? So you're waking up.
Coffee.
Yep.
Absolutely coffee.
Yes.
And then just try to get in here as early as possible. I try to get in early here
Sure.
so I can get home at a reasonable time.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And frankly, that's a way to do it. So you can spend time with the family after work. Love that.
Yeah.
So Michelle, what about you? What's your day like in the morning?
So I'm a mom of boys, and my boys are older though, so they're definitely not like waking up in the bed. But the morning is about efficiency, like getting the day moving, and I tend to be a little bit more productive at night. So after everyone is in bed, I'm taking care of what I can, and so in the morning I'm not, lounging around and having deep thoughts. I'm like getting it done and getting out the door. So
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, night owls impress me because that is just honestly, once the clock hits 7, I'm like, or we teeing it up for bed because I need a shower.
Yeah. I get a second wind like around that time. So
that's impressive. That's a whole new skill set to me. So what about you, Todd?
Well, you guys are making me feel a little older, which is okay. I'm used to that now. But I'm a recently empty nester, and I will tell you that mornings are so much more mellow than they used to be.
Wow, we can all only hope. It's going to be a while for me, Todd.
I love those days, but I don't have the energy to repeat them. I would never want to.
Yes.
But I'm a morning person for certain.
Yes.
Like Bryant, I think we like that moment of getting in here as quickly as possible. And I'm a little old school too in terms of I want to be at my desk early in the morning.
Yes.
So I'm most efficient then. But I really, and I'm fortunate to work with my group is the same.
Yeah.
So she and I, my assistants here, are it's about the same time within 5 minutes when I am at like 7:00 something. But the one habit, which is good and bad for my profession, is we don't react to everything that's going on in the world immediately, but we need to know what's going on. So
sure.
I'm one of those that checks their phone pretty quickly in the morning, and not for social media. I wish that were my pastime, but it's the news of the day, and I'm an Apple News. I've been using the Apple News subscription, so for me, I'm catching the latest headlines overseas and the business news of what's going to possibly impact market open. Well, dry stuff, but I've got to be able to respond to clients because I've got clients that are doing the same thing.
Right, and I do know a lot of people that are investing and that are savvy, obviously, financially. That's something that they do along with you. And you're right to check that and be able to respond to those questions because it is a concern, like presidential years, right? Everybody's updating on the presidential years and how this is impacting the markets. And so I think that's the wise thing to do in the morning. So back to business, I want to talk about your impacts. And you can talk about Northern Cincinnati Foundation, but hats off. I think you've done a lot to get involved within the region and different causes over the years. And I wanted to see if you guys could speak to that. I'm looking at Michelle because I think you primarily know, but I'm not going to take it away from Brian and Todd. So yeah, let's talk about impacts.
Absolutely. I think we could all add some flavor to this. the folks at Park were super passionate about being able to give back. And I think that's why partnerships like the one we have with you make so much sense, because we really do care about the work that you're doing. And so aligning with people that are doing, the kinds of things we believe in as well just makes total sense. Recently we did a listening tour. We were working on trying to define the magic that it is to work at Parks. So we were building our employee value proposition, help recruit, new folks to Bryant's team and Todd's team here in the Cincinnati area. And when we were asking our associates all over the bank in our 4 states, what is it that you care about coming to work at Park? What matters to you most? And to a person, we had a lot of people speak about the community impact. A lot of people talked about the opportunities we have to volunteer, to serve on boards, that they feel empowered to go make a difference and do some of those things. And I think they really connect deeply with the fact that we care about the community and that they get to be a part of that. So, it really has been woven into the fabric of Park since probably, 1908. We are a part of the community. I think the integration between business and community and individuals, it's what makes, a society work. Mm-hmm. And so I think we want to do our part, do our part and more. So that's why you see things like, our 18,000 volunteer hours from last year and our immense amount of
18,000.
Yes, I know. Our folks, we give them the opportunities and they raise their hand. I mean, they sign up, they get involved.
And it's so good to teach that. I think what I get a sense of when I sit down with the Park team is this level of empathy for the region, for people, like the greater good of the overall community. And to me, that means a lot that we're doing business with you guys and others in the region, and just knowing that you guys are leading with empathy. I truly feel that. So 18,000 hours, that says that to me. I'm like, yes, good leaders.
I love hearing that. And I think empathy is one of the themes you hear from our leaders and you hear it from our associates all across the footprint. We get to work with people day to day in the moments of, life change. They're planning for retirement, or they're dealing with the death of a loved one, unfortunately, or other life change, buying their first home, having a baby, and then wanting to open an account to start saving for their future. Like we're in those life moments with people. And so it does make you feel a part of the community, and you really care about those opportunities to give back and connect. So I'm glad you noticed it. I hope people know that about Park. We've got these blue volunteer shirts we wear, and when I go out into the community and the groups, yes, and people say, "Oh, I saw your blue shirts. We're out at wherever," and it just makes me really proud.
It should, and I think that really does show that you guys care about the community and about the region, and you just don't always see that with businesses. So the ones that I do see, I think, I definitely value in our region, because that means that you're just not in the business community, you're also in the community building role and aspect, which to me is super important. So what are some things that you guys want to highlight about Park National Bank and some of the things that you're working on, maybe strategic initiatives for the team, and just, how we were talking before about how you're growing and your team's growing here.
Yeah, so here in Cincinnati, we have really focused on growth over the past 18 months or so. And since January of last year, we've hired 7 new people just here in this office. That doesn't account for any of our banking centers. So we're really focused on scaling here in Cincinnati. Yeah. I think that we are the best kept secret in Cincinnati.
Yes.
The people that know us or that we get to know, they love us. Mm-hmm. And so it's just about every day trying to build new relationships. We're not, going to sponsor the Bengals or try to grow that
that's not
that way.
Yeah.
That's not us. That's not in our DNA. It's about building one-on-one relationships with people, with business owners, with nonprofits, with schools, and just with organizations across the region.
No, I think that's fantastic. I definitely see you guys out and about, to Michelle's comment there. And I do feel the momentum. And frankly, I think it's a momentum of Cincinnati, is that, the latest census data was saying that we are growing. There's a lot of growth opportunity in our different counties and in our region. No, we're not growing at the pace of Nashville, right? We would like to be. And so I think that you're thinking about how can we grow probably with the Cincinnati area as it is really growing. And I know we're trying to be kind of that Midwestern leader in this Cincinnati region, which I'm excited about. We have a lot of great things happening here. So another fun question that I always ask everyone on the What Gives podcast is if the world is ending, right? Like tomorrow, and if we're in this doomsday mentality, there are these things on Amazon you can buy called bug out bags. And by the way, I have one. Is that a lot? That's a lot. We probably shouldn't share this. But anyway, so I want to know what you guys would put if you could bring 4 things in your bug out bag. Can't be like my kids. We know that they're coming. We know that's number 1. What are the 4 things that you would bring in your bug out bag? Todd, I feel like you need to kick this one off. I can feel, are you bringing like a golf ball and a golf club? What's happening?
Nobody wants that. No, I'm not gonna be that guy anybody looks to help survive. I know that. I know where my lane is. So I'm probably going to try to distract myself over the end of the world.
Yes.
So thinking, I don't want to sound like an intellect, but most of my career I'm reading practical things. I've spent law school and so on reading and investment items. I just grabbed 4 books, honestly.
Right. Yes.
Fiction books, a biography, a couple of those. I don't think I've read Hemingway since high school. So some things like that. Again, it's just, I'm resigned to dying with this situation you're talking about. So I'm just going to distract myself till it's over.
Let's read this and go in peace. I love that.
We all get caught up in reading stuff, and I would love to just read novels again.
Yes.
I'm not a self-help book guy. I like biographies. I'd rather read about people who are successful than that. But beyond that, I need to really read good literature again. At least I'll feel better during those end of days.
Right, exactly. I'm going out with an educational bang here, growing my mind. What about you, Michelle?
Oh, Todd, I don't know if I can compete with that. I am with you in line of, I feel like I want to be either entertained or educated on how to maybe, because I don't know if I'm resigned yet that we're all dying. I might want to like MacGyver my way out of this thing.
This could go any way you want in your brain.
I really feel like I'm gonna be fighting till the end here. But so I think my mind goes to what can I take in? So maybe my music subscription, right? So you can either listen to a podcast on how to stop the end of the world, or you can flip over and enjoy a playlist of whatever's been the soundtrack of your life. I feel like there's a lot of great memories that are tied to music, and that would be a great distraction if it is all going down. It's kind of depressing.
Yeah. Music's good. I think music's always winning, right? Yeah. And then Brian, what are you thinking about?
I had some time to think about this with those 2 going first, which is nice. I would probably grab some prized possessions. So I definitely would grab our book of wedding pictures. Look
at that. Brownie points for the wife that listens. Brownie points. Way to go.
I would, so I worked for the Ohio State football team when I was in college on the coaching staff. Yeah. Humble brag. I would grab the Big Ten championship rings.
Oh, wow. Very humble. I love this. What?
Yep.
Are you kidding me? Okay, I've known you now for market president, 2 or 3 years or something like that, and I've never... this should be your opener when you sit down with people. By the way,
I don't think they fit anymore.
You can get those sized. I
could probably get them
on. I think Richter
and
Phillips or someone is dying to size those things. Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Okay, we digress. You can go back to your answer, but can you just tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'll keep it short because it's a very long story. But when I was an undergrad, I worked as a coaching intern, and each position coach had an intern. I worked with Dick Trussell, who was the running back coach, who was Jim Trussell's brother.
Right.
And our job was essentially to do everything that we could to remove work off their plates, so they could focus on the field coaching, film study. So that was, we broke down film. We did a lot of statistical analysis on opposing defenses. We were the guys creating the play sheets, that everybody covers their face to call plays, wristbands, and
I love
a bunch of other stuff. So it was 3 years, 2009 through 11 seasons.
Wow. So you have
Yeah.
3 rings?
Yep, 3 rings. Never
What?
lost to Michigan.
So I have a question. Do you have like a secret sweater vest stash like in your closet?
I do not. I do
Because
not.
I feel like that's the uniform.
Yeah,
I
it
could
definitely
see you
was.
fit the bill of the Jim Trussell sweater vest, glasses vibe. Like that's
Yep.
you. So in case you need fashion tips in the future, I think you should invest and then bring your rings with you.
Yeah.
And say Trussell
Yeah.
did it. Trussell did it.
Oh, absolutely.
I love it. Okay,
Yep.
so we digress for a second. So you can finish your answer. I'm
Sure.
just like in awe of that one.
The one thing I thought about, like this is from the benefit of having some time to think about it. So our second son has a little fox stuffy.
Mhm.
He will not sleep without it. So we would have to have that.
Wow.
Otherwise, he's never going to bed.
Yeah.
And then a third thing, I would probably bring a book, but there's this one book that we have that I'll read to the boys where it has like 20 stories in it.
Yeah.
So you could get a lot of bang for your
I
buck
just
out
want
of
you
that.
to know, Brian, you went from, here all the way up to the top of the scale because I'm like, wow, wedding album? Okay. Stuffy for child. And oh, wait, by the way, humble brag, 3 rings with Ohio State under Jim Trussell. Like, no big deal.
Couldn't say bring our kids. So that's what. I
Yeah,
would've
that's
said.
right. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That would have been really trite.
Yep.
So I like your answer better. Awesome. Wow. Okay. I learned so much. And now I'm like on Team Brian. I had no idea. My mind is completely blown on this podcast today. Okay. Michelle, you talked about digital banking. And I know the whole world, right, as we know it, is changing. And I want to dive a little bit more into that and hear about the great things Park is doing, as society changes.
Yeah, I love that question. The industry is changing. The world is changing. The way people operate and do every kind of thing, shopping, what have you. It's all different today than it used to be. And I think Park has recently really focused in on how can we continue to be who we've always been for 120 years or whatever, since 1908, but also connect with people in the way they want to interact with us today. So that's kind of how the latest digital innovation at Park has been born. We call it Park Direct. It's a companion app to our mobile banking app. So for years, of course, we've had all the traditional things you'd expect, the online banking, the mobile banking, text alerts, and all the the cool, snazzy digital things that people have. But as the world has shifted digital, it's become further and further from the human. And I think people still crave that connection. And honestly, it's what we specialize in. I don't know how many times we've said relationships in this conversation, but that's what Park is built on, right? Is relationships. Me building a relationship with you. It's the person to person connection. Well, you get into that digital self-service world and that's kind of lost. Mm-hmm. We don't have, people walking in every single week, same folks that you would connect with in a branch and just talk to about their weekend and their kids. And so what we did is we created this platform where inside of the app, they can connect, they can choose out of a group of personal bankers, they can pick one, and they keep an ongoing conversation with that same banker. And so even though it is chat and it feels like texting, you have that same consistent person, so you're connecting on that personal level. And I think, too, it goes beyond banking. It always has for us. It always has gone beyond banking where you're talking about someone's financial situation. But like we said, it's a part of a life moment for them. There's things connected to it. And we end up getting into that because of the relationship. And so that tends to happen in the Park Direct conversations as well is, I need to put a travel notice on my debit card. It's because, oh, where are you going? And then we end up with pictures being sent of their trip to Italy or one of our favorites when we talk to our bankers about how to really wow customers with this service because it does not feel like chat. I promise you, if you've had a chat experience online, it does not feel like that. But someone comes to you and says, I just had a baby. I want to open a savings account. Right. Well, our goal is we talk about the baby before we talk about the sales, about the account that they want to open, right? So we have this mantra of don't forget about the baby. So we first, it's, is it a boy or a girl? And how old? And those kind of questions. And you open the door then to that human connection.
So from Todd, like trust administration. So say it's Erin. It's Erin Satzger. She's 38 years old. Should she have a trust? What is the right, time for a trust? Who's the right person for a trust? Can you educate our listeners on that? Because I think that is definitely something everybody needs to hear about.
Yeah, and it's not something you're going to necessarily be excited about hearing about. So I'm aware of that because
Yeah.
it's a pretty dry topic. But I'm glad you asked it that way. I don't often get that because folks
Right.
that ask it that way occasionally just don't even ask.
Yeah.
And it's something we've been battling with in terms of internally how we present ourselves to not exclude people from talking to us.
Sure.
Even the term wealth advisor, which is common in our industry,
Right.
it can be excluding folks
People
because
think I don't
have wealth. Well,
right?
we all do.
Right.
The financial aspect is it's a means to an end for
Right.
folks, and
Let's
I
build
recognize
it.
that money is not everything, but it is.
Sure.
It's necessary, and how you manage it. So, and that's what I do enjoy about the position is that we're talking with all different folks of different backgrounds about what they need for their financial health, and estate planning is part of that because the objective there is to provide for family, and that's what it gets down to.
Mm-hmm.
It may involve a trust wherein you need to have that more elaborate estate plan to provide for family beyond your life in a way that you'd prefer to dictate it. That's how I approach it. The tax reasons have dissipated a bit over the last
Sure.
20 over my career,
Sure.
but they're still there, depending upon the wealth, the financial well-being of the family.
Right.
But things like having a special needs child or grandchild, or
Yes.
wanting to provide for them later in life beyond yourself. Legacy, if they want to
Yeah.
contribute to the foundation or to other
Right.
causes they have in mind. A trust can be a vehicle, but all these things are vehicles.
Right.
An IRA or 401k, that's a form of a trust in a sense.
Sure.
It's an investment outside of yourself.
So if you do put it into a trust, so that
Mhm.
here's my basic question for somebody like me. So if you do put it into a trust like your IRA or Roth or something along those lines, what are the typical limits that some people may set or language that people may have for families or something along those lines? Or if you pass away earlier than you thought you would, like why is it important, you think, to do a trust versus just naming it on your IRA or Roth?
Well, it can get pretty involved. The topics you're
Okay,
talking
yeah,
about, there's
yeah.
tax consequences and reasons.
Yeah.
And I'll start off with the boring disclaimer. I'm an attorney, but
Yes.
whoever's listening to this podcast, I'm not their attorney.
There you go.
And I
I think
represent the
boring
bank.
disclaimers are amazing. Yes.
You just got to be careful with that.
Do not
And-
take this literally.
And I'm sure there are
Talk
other
to your
investment
professional.
all the investment professionals listening
Yeah.
to this are thinking, is he going to say that? Because he better say that. Because
Yeah, right.
every person's different. And a thing we do as a group is listen about
Yes.
what the client needs when they come in
Yes.
and talk to us. So the idea for me is, again, I kind of
Mhm.
touched upon it. How do you want things to go to the next generation or to
Sure.
your surviving spouse?
Sure.
Or how do you want that to play out? And we talk through it. As an attorney and in this business, we think worst case scenario and then work our way back, which
Yeah.
is depressing. But
Right.
so you talked about what would be the best avenue. We're thinking, what if the worst were to happen?
Right.
Husband, wife die on a common casualty. How
Sure.
would that go on? Kids, what if, heaven forbid, a child predecease you?
Mhm.
So there are just a lot of tools.
Yeah.
Now when we're working with, which I enjoy about this job, I'm working with the actual customer talking to us about this, but then I'm also working with their estate planning professional, their
Mhm.
attorney, and it can be through them or from the attorney the other direction. And what is enjoyable too is from practicing for a while as an attorney independently, then coming back to this to the bank, I understand how to administer for that family.
Right.
And we have clients that are now the grandchildren of the original grantor. The money is granddads or grandmas or great grandmothers that we're managing for them. So I get to see how that played out from 1982 to now,
Yeah.
and how that money has been used or how the planning has gone or not gone well.
Right.
So I got in the weeds a little bit there.
No,
but
I think it all comes down to relationships. And I
Yes.
think that's really what I hear about Park National Bank. So, the question is then for me, I work with you guys. I have a relationship with you guys. There are so many banks to choose from. What do you guys think is your value add in this region and in Ohio? Why people choose Park?
I think it's our people,
Yeah.
and that expresses itself with deep roots in service, and that's service to customers, service to our communities. So I'd say an extreme high level of service. I mean, money is green at every bank, and
Yes.
so it's how do we differentiate ourselves? It really does come down to our people.
Yeah, I think so, and I definitely get that feeling. just from working with you guys for so long and our awesome relationship at Northern Cincinnati Foundation. Is there anything you want to leave our listeners with today? Any last thoughts or things that you didn't talk about that you want to make sure we discuss or cover today?
I've got two I want to share.
Absolutely.
So in the history, I kind of stopped in Cincinnati and didn't really go on. So I'd like to talk about scale a little bit.
Yes, please.
So I'll talk about scale in Cincinnati and then scale across our entire footprint.
Yes.
So here in Cincinnati, when you add up all the loans and deposits that we have, we're about over $1 billion.
Okay.
Right over $1 billion. And so that sounds like a lot, but in the big picture of the entire market in Cincinnati, it's not that big.
Sure.
When you take a step back to Ohio and the other 3 states that we're in, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, we are, according to how the regulators define it, the largest community bank in Ohio.
Okay.
So we're right under $10 billion in assets, which is how banks are measured.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that's how banks were measured.
Yep. So, we're in 4 states. So upstate South Carolina, creeping over to Asheville. We're in Charlotte. We have folks that work in Greensboro and Raleigh, originating commercial loans. We now have employees in 14 or 15 states.
Wow.
So we're, it's the combination of that community bank feel with the big bank resources.
Sure.
I mean, we take care of customers where we have a commercial loan of $50,000 to them, and then we can go up to $50 million.
Right.
So everything in between is what we can handle. And in the last 100 years, we have had 5 CEOs: Ever Reese, John Alford, Bill McConnell, Dan DeLauder, David Troutman. That's it. It's a very consistent, stable leadership, and that really allows us to think very long term. We're not thinking about later this year or next year. We're thinking 3 to 5 years from now, in pretty much everything that we do. So that stability expresses itself in consistent credit discipline. So we don't go in and out of industries. We don't, turn the dial up or turn the dial down, which is a big topic right now.
Right.
We're quoting and making loans on hotels, office buildings, commercial real estate of all types right now, when a lot of banks have pulled back or raised rates to where they effectively pull back. Right. And then it gives our people a sense of stability and consistency, which I think is incredibly important. Yeah. The rules today are the same as the rules 5 years from now and 5 years ago. So I think that stability is key.
To speak to your current CEO, David Troutman, I have to say that when I think it was my daughter, actually, my firstborn. So this is, I think, 8 years ago. Has he been there that long?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'm like, is my memory serving me right? But he was so sweet. He sent a book from his favorite book collection to read to my daughter with a special note. And for someone that's really busy and CEO of the overall bank, I just felt like, wow, that's pretty amazing that he took the time to write me this note, send a sweet children's book, and I'll never forget that. You don't forget memories like that somebody took the time to do something special like that.
Yep. Well, back to consistency here. So guarantee you that was a Sandra Boykins book.
Yes.
I have the same one
that
he sent me before.
That's very cool. I think you're right.
Yep.
I'm like, I can't remember. It's been so long and so many sleepless nights over the years, but with children, there is serious sweat equity in building a family, just like a business, just takes even more time on the family end. But no, I just want to say to all 3 of you, what a pleasure it is to have you on the What Gives podcast with Northern Cincinnati Foundation. And thank you for sharing more about Park National Bank. And I hope you guys have a great day.
To learn more about how to expand your philanthropy, please reach out to the Northern Cincinnati Foundation. For more episodes, please subscribe to What Gives.